Hey there, gang. Coming to you from northern Wisconsin. I got this book here. It was given to me by a friend about 5 years ago. Iron County, Wisconsin. And that's where we're at up here, the North Woods of Wisconsin. And I was leafing through this book, and under the Good Times section, there was a picture of a woman who is standing in front of this amazing fireplace. Bigger than her. She is standing inside of it, actually. And I said, wow. And you read, it says Whispering Pines. And I said, wow, I'd love to know more about this. So I was asking my friend who gave me the book. He goes, oh yeah, I know the fireplace. It's up in a place called Mercer, Wisconsin. And he said, the fireplace is still there. I said, really? He said, yeah. It's practically the only thing that survives of this amazing women's summer camp back in the 1950s, the 1960s. And he said, you know, it's funny. And my friend collects, he goes to all the estate sales for years. He would be perfect for American pickers. They would love to go to his place. In fact, they called him and he turned them down. But that said, he collects everything. And he said, Ron, I've got an album, several albums from that camp that I had picked up from the woman before she passed away who used to run it. And he said, but I gave it away. And I said, who did you give it to? Maybe I'd love to see the pictures. He said, well, I gave it to a woman who, a husband and wife who actually own the camp now. There's really not much left. One of the main cabins, the out cabins the girls used to stay at, they kept. I think they turned it into a home. But all the other cabins are gone. The lodge is gone, but that fireplace remains. The fireplace is still there. I said, tell me where it is in Mercer. How do I get there? So I ended up going up there. And I stood in the fireplace, and it's just as that picture, but there's just nothing else there. It's off the road. You can go see it today. And I said, boy, Daryl, I got back. I said, I'd love to see those pictures. And he said, okay, here's who to talk to. So I went back there, and of course, in the cabin, and I got an introduction. And Rachel was good enough to, and thank you, Rachel, let me borrow the pictures, stacks of pictures. I went through all the pictures. And they're amazing of this camp, and I wanted to share them with you. So we're going to take a step back in time here. I'm just going to play some music, and we're just going to look at the images. They'll speak for themselves. It's an amazing step back in time. The women, this was the 50s, the 60s, the women 15 years old, 18 years old, maybe 20. If you do the math, they're in their mid-80s, 90s. Many, I'm sure, have passed on. Many have not. And I'm asking if any of you, and I tried to find getting the word out through posts and everything else on my channel, if anyone went to the Whispering Pine camp, the girls' camp in Mercer when you were young, please let me know. I'd love to hear some of your memories, but I had no luck. So I'm reaching out here in this video before time runs out for all of us, that if any of you watching went to this camp, please contact me in the link, the description below. I'll put my email and everything. Yeah, I'd love to hear just one or two of your experiences. I'd love to do a follow-up if I hear from a few, to hear some of the stories, the warm memories. Like I said before, time runs out for you, for me, for all of us, so that we can keep this story remembered, because this camp is mostly forgotten, and it's very sad. So come along with me on this little journey back in time, and let's go to Whispering Pine Girls Summer Camp. Hey gang, we are in Mercer, Wisconsin today in the far, far north woods, and we're about 50 miles south of Lake Superior. Beautiful country here. And basically what you're looking at here is all that survives from a girls' camp back from the 1950s. Actually, this fireplace at the time was in the Guinness Book of World Records as the largest in the world. And of course it was part of an overall huge lodge and a massive complex of horseback riding and tennis and water sports. It was a big camp created by this beautiful couple that came up from Milwaukee, Dorothy and Ellen Tidball at the time. And they created this beautiful place. And there's a lot of memories sewn into this land, and we're gonna go wind the clock back, and we're gonna take a look at some of those memories right now. And then we're gonna visit Dorothy and Ellen's grave down near Milwaukee. So what we have here is an actual nuclear fallout shelter that the Tidballs built for the girls and themselves. And you can imagine back in the 1950s, 60s, it was pretty scary what was going on with the Cold War. So let's have a look. Let's check this out. It is still in pretty decent condition. And there are some artifacts that we can take a look at. Now let's start on top here. The floor system, or I should say the floor of the soil here, the roof system, is a galvanized decking with concrete. And of course over that they put the soil. There's probably about 12 inches or 24 inches of soil here, and I am not going to stand on it, but you'll be able to see this is the original stack from the, they had a very elaborate air system. Of course, if you're going to be stuck in here, and there was an actual nuclear bomb that went off and fallout, really it's the fallout. You'd have Minneapolis would get hit, or Milwaukee. There's really no big cities, but depending on which way the wind is blowing, that's really what the big deal is. Even today, if that were to happen, which way is the wind blowing? It's kind of like the volcanoes. That's where the fallout's going to go. And that's the bad part after the explosion. I should say the second worst part, where you would die a slow death, many people, but in here you'd have some protection. I don't know how long you could survive now. Look at this. This looks to be some of the old galvanized decking that was taken out right here. And you know what? I can see from the picture here that these are the railings. These are the original railings, guys. Look at that. Yes. You can see those in the picture. And there's a warning sign. Probably just saying it's private property. Let's take a look inside. Alright, obviously the new owners are working on it, making some repairs. Look at that. Can you imagine being stuck in here for days or weeks, waiting for the fallout to fall out or fall down? Look at this. So this is the original equipment room. That is not original, but what I see here is this opening here where we saw that hooded intake. This probably would have a big charcoal filter on it. And I see a horizontal duct opening here. So the air system probably air supply would run out here. Yeah, probably ran along the wall. Look at the decking. And as I look at it, you can see it's in pretty good shape. There's a layer that's come off. Maybe that was a double layer. I think there were 2 layers, and the bottom layer is mostly rusted away. And as such, you can see deflection from the load of the slab and soil. I don't know if we could see it on camera, but I can really see it here. Very interesting. Now here's another thing that was pointed out. You can see sparkles in the rust. That means that's lead paint, guys. That is lead paint. So, well, that's the way it was. And look at this, we have an original bed from the camp. How interesting. Look at those springs. And there are some initials carved in here in the bedpost. Let's see what that says. It looks like TN. Yeah, TN it looks like. Yeah, that's the original. That's the original bed springs, for sure. All right, let's continue.